So we don't dismantle, we create new things. And cosmosis, I'm going to just read this, and I'm going to invite everybody who doesn't know what cosmosis is to listen as I'm reading this, to listen from a different perceptual place than to listen for literal words and literal mental, intellectual understanding of what I'm saying. Yeah, so cosmosis is a fluid, multi-field practice in which a group attunes simultaneously to multiple dimensions of reality: personal, ancestral, collective, archetypal, mythic, spirit, land, and beyond, from within the imaginal realm, using a personal and collective myth as a navigational map that allows movement between them, a cross-field movement of global cohering. So every practice of cosmosis is a movement of global cohering in the field. Um, the way how I refer to this movement is a liberatory, cosmotic, post-human, post-colonial, post-capitalist movement of life making. It's basically post everything, post-somatic, post-energetics. Just gonna skip this one. There's a lot of text. And so what I want to play with today is the experience of different ways of perception of anything. A way of perception that is more linear and a way and more rooted in chronos time, in fixed curricula, in measurable outcomes, in predetermined processes from A to B, in frameworks, in models that say this is the only way, this is how we do things, this is we go from A to B to C, right? To a different perceptual way, perceptual model that lives more in Kairos time, that is more spiralic, that is more non-linear, that is alive in a way that we have a conversation with it instead of doing something. Um, a different way of orienting to anything and a different way of being in perception with anything, right? So a lot of the times in modern life, in modern being a modern human, we find ourselves being in this literal place um, and literal, physical, more linear. And Cosmosis offers this multi-layered experience at any given moment. And so at any given moment, you can be orienting to anything that is going on, also from a very different um, perceptual coordinates, I call it. So instead of speaking more, let's have a little experience. Let's have an experience. Unless there are questions. I'm also happy to take questions, but I don't think so. At this point, it's either everything is clear or nothing is clear, which is exactly the point. How are we doing? Can you also give me in the chat a little bit like a vibe check, mood check? What is going on? How are we feeling? How are you doing? How are you? What's life? How's life and what's life right now? Just waking up. What's life? Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah, mom life, working and enjoying the sun, feeling good. Slight nervousness around tech hosting. Don't worry, I've got you. Sunniest, warmest days in the year today. Yes, good. A bit distracted, excited, lying in the imaginal realm. Good. Nighttime Australia, preparing for dinner. My son is pretending to be me and it is just and is ordering me around, but also giving his sister a shower so I get to rest. Wow. What else? Education, revival, yes. One of my very good friends said about this process of cosmosis, he said words educational cosmotic relief. Yeah, so m- first and most importantly, and in the first kind of like the biggest thing that I want you to do and to have an experience in this less than 50 minutes is fun. To have just a little bit fun and a little bit of a relief from whatever squeeze, whatever like you find yourself in around tech, around feeling sick, around whatever is going on in your life. Remove education. Or we just do education in a very different way, like an entirely different way. So, educational cosmotic relief. I'm going to tell you a story, and the way how we do cosmosis is and usually this is also I was so nervous about this session. I'm never nervous. I teach a lot. I'm never nervous anymore. But with this one, I was very nervous because it's just 1 hour. It's less than 1 hour, and the question is education. And I'm very, very invested in educational systems and how actually current modern educational systems are very corrupt and linear, and they do not fit into life. And exactly what Afra says, the word education feels so abstracted to mean substance. Yeah, there is no substance there anymore. There is no substance. Um, and then the question was, can you cosmos education? And I was like, yeah. So here you have 1 hour. Okay, cool. Let's do this. And then reorientation in orientation to me, like how can it be a little lighter on everything, a little fun, a little so there's like because we could be here for hundreds years working on this, cosmosing educational systems, um, but we only have less than 50 minutes. So I'm gonna tell you a story, and as I tell the story, I invite you to listen again, not from linear, like I follow the story and every word you say, and like I'm listening, to the storyline and the timeline of the story, not like this, but listen to the story from your subtle perception and from the perceptual coordinates of more. Like behind every word, behind every movement in the story, what else is there? What becomes available? Can I sense more? Can I sense something else? Can I not just be listening to the once upon a time words, but what does it mean in my experience, the cosmology of me? What does it mean once upon a time? Right? And you will find your own doorways and pathways into kind of entering the story a little deeper. And some of places in the story will resonate and will do something for you, and you will be like, whoa, I'm just gonna go there, right? So, and some of the pieces of the story will do nothing for you, which is totally good and normal. So up to you on how you interact and how you engage with the story. And usually these bigger topics in Cosmosis, usually they take 1.5 to 2 hours in a group, right? We have, again, I'm like, oof, that's a challenge. So we will see how things go. Um, the way how you can engage with this, you can feel into your things, you can sense things, and you will kind of map it out for yourself on how do things show up for me as I listen to the story. And then you can rename yourself in the Zoom. So for example, right, I'm gonna read you the first little paragraph. The story is called The Spirit in the Bottle. It's from Brothers Grimm. Anybody knows it? Yeah, those of you who've been listening to Michael Mead, he tells the story a lot. Um, And so the first sentence goes like this, something like this, that there was once a poor woodcutter who worked from morning until late at night, every day the same, the axe, the trees, his back bent over the work, right? And not listening to the specific, like literal sentence of the words, but listen to the experience and what this experience gives you access to. And then you can rename yourself in the Zoom, becoming the axe, or becoming every day the same, or becoming the trees, becoming the work, becoming the once upon a time. And then if you feel there's some kind of information coming for you and you want to share something, your um, perceptual insights into a certain piece of the story, you can share it in the Zoom. So what I will be doing, I will be narrating the story. Energetically, I will be watching the whole field unfold around the story. And when you add things in the chat, I will be adding them into the story as well. So in this sense, it's a co-creation, right? It's not just me, but it's a co-creation of me, field, us, you, and everybody is contributing to the story and how it unfolds. I cannot change my name, but it's now effortless. I like that. Thank you. So we're cosmosing already. And I might also, when you change your name, in the Zoom, I will also name it and weave it into the story. So, the spirit in the bottle. There was once a poor woodcutter who worked from morning until late at night, every day the same. The axe, the trees, his back bent over the work. When he had finally saved a little money, and just a little, just enough, and he said to his only son, "You're all I have, my only son, and I want to give you the best of what I can. And I'm going to give you all of the money so you can have the best education at the best university that I can afford. So that afterwards, when you come back and you have a proper professional education, and you can support me when my limbs grow stiff and I can no longer swing the axe." How are we doing? Just enough for the best. Yes. Thank you. So feel into things as they show up for you as the story goes, and you're gonna just rename yourself, and from that perceptual point, you will begin to perceive the story more. And so the boy went to the university, and he studied, and he was good, and his teachers praised him, and he worked through the lessons, bright, capable, promising, studying through the night and the day. But he was not yet finished. He was not yet complete in his learning, so he did not have a certificate. He did not have a diploma. But the money ran out, so there was no money anymore, and the father could not afford the education anymore. And so the boy had to come home, and he did. And the father said to him sadly, "I cannot give you any more money. And these hard times, I cannot earn a single coin beyond what we need to have food." And the son said, "Father, don't worry. I'll come with you into the forest. I will help you. I will work with you." But the father said, "No, no, no, you won't be able to. You have a proper professional education. And what I do is a very hard work. It's a physical work. So with your professional education, university education, you could not possibly support me in this. And also, by the way, we only have one axe, so you cannot work with me." But the boy said, "I'm gonna borrow one at the neighbor's." And he did. And so they went into the forest to chop some wood, and they chopped and they chopped and they chopped, and they got tired, and it was lunchtime. And so father said, "Okay, let's sit and we rest and we have lunch." And the boy said, "I'm gonna have lunch there. I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm not gonna sit here." And the father said, "Don't be fool. With your university education, you will not be able to find your way there and then come back because you need to know the land, you need to know the woods, but you only have proper professional education." Like, are we getting this? Are we getting this? Um, and the boy said, "Okay, don't worry. I will figure it out." And so he went away and he walked among the trees, eating his bread, looking up into the green branches. He walked and deeper into the woods, and there was less and less path available until he came to an enormous oak, ancient, wide, rooted, and the boy stood and looked at the tree. And then he heard a voice, very muffled, coming from somewhere below the roots, like from the ground itself and from under the roots. "Let me out! Let me out!" said the voice. And the boy looked around but couldn't see anything. There was nothing. And he was like, "Am I crazy?" Because in my proper professional education in the university, they taught me that you can only hear and see things that are like physically here. And now I'm hearing something that is not here. Am I okay? And the voice came again, "Let me out! Let me out from beneath the roots and beneath the earth." And this time the boy was like, "What? Where are you coming from?" "Here, beneath the roots, and among the roots of the oak. Let me out." And the boy knelt down and began to scrape at the earth and under the roots, and dig and dig and dig and dig and search. And there was a little bottle, a glass bottle he found, and he lifted it up and held it against the light. And inside, something that looked like a frog was jumping up and down. Tiny, frantic, pressing against the glass. "Let me out! Let me out!" And the boy, thinking no evil, because hey, proper professional education in the university didn't teach him things like this, okay? He opened the bottle, and immediately a spirit rose from the opening. It began to grow, and it grew so fast that within moments a huge, terrible creature, half the size of the oak tree itself, was standing before the boy. Scary shit, okay? And the spirit says, "Do you know what your reward is for setting me free?" And the boy was like, "No." Like, obviously, he thought it would be something good. How should I know? And then the spirit said, "Then I will tell you. I must break your neck. I must break your neck." And the boy said, "Well, you should have mentioned that sooner, because then I would have left you in the bottle. But my head is staying where it is. More people will have to be consulted about this. More people here, more people there," wrote the spirit. You will get the reward you've earned. Do you think I was shut up in that bottle as a favor? It was my punishment. I am the mighty Mercurius, and whoever releases me, him I must strangle." I'm gonna pause here and look around of what we have. We have a tree, we have a back bend, we have just enough for the best, we have what just happened, soft hands, the dependent sun, learning or becoming, and let me out. And I'm also wondering if anybody wants to share something in the chat of what are you perceiving, what is going on for you from your perceptual coordinates of this. So there's the boy with proper professional education, but no diploma yet, in the woods, opening the bottle with a huge spirit coming out of the bottle. "I must strangle you now. This is your reward for freeing me." pressure. Yes. What else is going on? Trust, stress, and broken neck. Yeah. Sensing overwhelm, low somatic capacity to hold the wrong path, death of the current reality, injustice, doomed if you do, doomed if you don't. Yes. The shock paradigm death of facing a moment of mythic becoming. Yes. Unlearning. I'm right at the beginning. Why are you sending me away? This feels like a huge rupture. Yes. Eaten, consumed by a bigger force, questioning surrender. And then, if you want to, you can also, into your perceptual place right now, you can bring your whole understanding and relationship to the educational system. In whatever shape and form it will show up for you, and kind of layering it on top of this, or not really even on top, but kind of layering them together and fusing them together, whatever I am perceiving now with this story and how it goes, and the whole of the educational system. Layers of civilization, effortless, no more, had no more thinking, no more effort, loneliness of not knowing what the father knows. Yeah, I'm sensing into the either or of soft, rough hands, mid knowing, body knowing, can't speak, rigid, freedom and risk taking. What else? Yeah, why are you sending me away? The dependent sun, soft hands, just enough for the best. Broken neck in the tree. Separation for your culture and identity. Freedom and risk taking, creating a narrow scope of possibility. What else? And for those of you who, if you want to, you can also bring into your perceptual place right now and everything's going on inside of the story. Plus, we added the educational system. Plus, you can orient yourself to the health of educational system. Like what does it even mean, the health of educational system? And where would I find that state of the whole educational system? Apply to anything. The trauma that happened when you weren't giving the tools of your lineage, limitations as possibility. Good that I didn't get a diploma. Yeah, no more had an activation of the heart. Yes, how we become our ancestors' descendants. No more dependence on logic and reason. Yeah. I'm curious also for those of you who are bringing the health of educational system, what becomes available there? Like, are you able to orient to this at all in any amount, anywhere? Is it available, like in the underlying energetics of everything? Can we find the health of the educational system? Education being one-sided and only focusing on the brain, intelligence, and disregarding all the wisdom we carry within our body and our feelings and sensations. Yeah. And so the story continues. When the spirit came out and became super huge and said, now, as your reward, I'm gonna strangle you. Gonna have to, you know? Those are the rules of the spirit world. I'm gonna have to now. Being educated out of the webs of life and relationships instead of into them, enabling or restrictive education has no more had to fill with concepts. Lunchtime were always good. Yeah. And the smart voice, as he is, he says, wait, 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 not so fast. First, I need to know that you were actually inside that bottle because I cannot believe it. Like, look at you, you're so huge, and the bottle is so small. Like, I cannot believe that you were just in that bottle. So I'm gonna need you to prove that you can go back inside. And the spirit was like full of arrogance. Of course, yeah, I'm magic. I can do this. Well, watch me. And goes back into the bottle. And he folded him, like the spirit folded himself back into a little tiny thing, into this little frog-like situation, and put himself back into the bottle. And the boy just put the lid on it, close it off, done. And he threw the bottle back among the roots of the oak, put a little bit of dirt on top, a little bit of leaves and branches, and he returned back to his father. But from the earth, very faintly, very silently, oh, please let me out, please let me out, I'll be good. And the boy said, no, not the second time. I will not be this stupid again. I won't release someone who tried to kill me. And the spirit says, well, if you set me free, I will give you something that will provide for you all the days of your life. And the boy says, no, you'll cheat me. The way you tried to do before, and you will try to break my neck again. And the spirit says, you're throwing away your own good fortune, boy. That is stupid. I will not harm you. I will reward you richly. And the boy stood still, and he thought about it, and he thought about it, and he thought about it a little bit longer. And then he thought, nah, what do I have to lose? I'll take the risk. Perhaps he'll keep his word, and in any case, he won't get better of me. He won't get the better of me. And he knelt down, dug out the bottle again, and pulled out the cork. And the spirit rose up the second time, grew and grew until he became this huge thing again. And then the spirit reached out and handed a little small piece of cloth to the boy. It looked like nothing, like a rag, like a cloth, like a little bandage you wouldn't even look twice at. And the spirit says, if you rub a wound with one end of this cloth, the wound will heal. And if you rub iron or steel with the other end of this cloth, it will turn to silver. And the boy said, no, it cannot be, like, I do not believe this. This is some kind of magic. And I was in the university, and there was a proper professional education, and they did not teach me this. I need to test this. Like, I need to see it tangibly with my own eyes in the physical expression of things. I need to test this. And he went to a tree. He took the axe and he wounded the tree, like with a big cut. And then he pressed the cloth against the wound, and the bark closed itself together, and it was gone, healed completely, as if nothing had ever happened. It works, said the boy. We can part now. I am satisfied with my proof now. And the spirit thanked the boy for bringing him. The boy thanked the spirit for the gift, and they went their separate ways. The boy returned to his father, who was very angry because, hey, he spent all this money, all the money he had, on a proper professional education at the university. And now the stupid boy was running around in the woods doing God knows what, right? So this is again a place where we stop a little bit, we pause, and we reorient what is going on now. We sent the boy to the university, made him do a proper professional education. Money ran out. He came back, went to the woods, did some things, tricked a huge spirit, a genie in the bottle, received a gift from the other world, a gift of magic and unlimited capabilities, returned back to father, and the father is angry. So what is going on? Parental investment and expectations and reality, air quotes, reality. What is even reality at this point? And we have a fool or student of life. Why are you sending me away? Mercurial trick. Just enough for the best. Tree, magic cloth, and imaginal escape. What else is showing up? And all the things that are happening in the woods with this spirit, all the things that the boy did not learn about in the proper professional education. Yeah, what becomes the next proper education after this one? What else? And again, you can choose right now to orient to the story. So orienting to the flow of the story, plus orienting to educational system as a framework that holds so much and so many agreements in place, plus educational system in its health. He belief of his belief of what we think, the belief of what we think we know. Big time. I'm thinking of tricking us all back into the forest. Yes, please. Yes, please. A university educated boy is now relay on magic coming from the spirit education system is outraged. Break the classroom walls. What type of knowledge was lost when we replaced it with a proper education of the forest? Yes. Magical healing, but others are concerned about image, money, and practicality. Yeah, but what's more practical than magical healing? Exactly. Like, what's more effortless, effective, efficient, and fast, and practical and tangible than this magical healing and turning iron into silver? Integrate a more holistic way of education, experiencing ourselves within diverse situations is the most efficient education. His education helped him in a way to trick him. He's believing now in magic. Yeah. Why don't we turn silver into iron? Exactly. Why don't we? Why don't we? Alchemistry. Now, do you know what you know in generalization versus space for nuance and spirituality? Abstracted from embodied knowing, we don't know who, what to trust. And effortless. Exactly. One of my favorite uh, plays and coordinates to reorient toward is effortless, effective, efficient, but not in a mainstream, like capitalist paradigm of it, but in exactly like nature. Exactly like nature, when everything happens in right timing, in right amount, with right conditions, and that's the essence of effortless, effective, efficient. And so, what is going on with the time? Why the time is flowing so fast here? Let's return to the story, to the angry father. Oh, wait, creative intelligence says something. I missed the story and the words and cannot go into analysis of what it means, completely mesmerized and absorbed into light shadow play of the tree, the human representing the tree. Yeah. I also, when I was telling and reading the story, kind of got a little distracted by the tree and the light, and it was so bright, and it was like exactly split screen in dark and light. So here we are back to the angry father who's like, I wasted money on you, child. What is going on? Where have you been running around? Why did you forget to work? You forgot to do the work, right? Why aren't you working? You're running around. Here's a lot of work need to be done. Hard work, really, really hard work. And I told you you'd never get anything done. I knew this. Wasted all the time and all this money on the proper education, and still you cannot even do the work. Don't worry, father. I'll make it up. Watch. I'll chop down the tree right there. And he rubbed the axe with a cloth and struck a mighty blow. But because the iron had turned to silver, the blade bent. It folded right over on itself. And the father was horrified, even angry now. What did you do? Now we have to pay to the neighbors because we borrowed the axe. It's not ours. You broke it. Now we have to pay, and we don't have the money because I spent all the money on your education, and you're not even using it. You're not even working. What is even happening? And the son said, no, 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 wait. Don't be angry. I'll pay for the axe. And with what are you going to pay? You have nothing but what I give you. You have students' tricks in your head. But you don't know anything about cutting wood. You don't know anything about hard work. And the boy took the silver axe to the goldsmith in town, and the goldsmith weighed it and tested it, and gave the boy 100 of money for it. A whole 100 of money. And so the boy comes to the house, back to his father, who's still super angry because what the heck, and gives the 100 of money to the father, who cannot believe, like, how did you get this money? Like, what happened? You didn't even do the work. You didn't finish your proper education and the university. You didn't do the hard work in the woods. You went off somewhere to frolic in the woods to do whatever you did, and now you bring me the money? Like, what is happening? And the boy told him everything. And of course, father didn't believe him first, like, no, it cannot be happening because, like, are you okay in the head and all the things. But the boy told the whole story. And finally, the father believed him. And the boy went off into the world with his magic cloth, and he became the most famous healer of all times. The end. And so this is again where we pause a little bit and reorient to what is going on. And the story of the improbable thing. Like, how could that happen? You have the healing capabilities, you becoming the most famous healer of all times, and you can turn iron into silver and just like that receive money without a proper education, without a diploma, a certificate, without doing the hard work in the woods, without like your hands bleeding and your head breaking. Just like that, effortless, effective, efficient? No. So what are you noticing from this place? And we have the magic cloth and creative intelligence, mercurial trick, the dependent son, the angry father, what can I trust and believe? And the dependent son says, I thought I was screwed when the spirit wanted to strangle me. Didn't realize some strategic thinking could turn the whole thing around. What, all this without sweat from his limbs, outrageously effortless. Exactly, like how can it be? It doesn't even count. If you're still okay and it was effortless, it doesn't count. Big wave of a phrase that's been in my blood my whole life. Don't tell me what to do, what I can do. Yeah. Trust in ourselves and what we are capable of. What was the point of it all? What do I hope for? Yeah. Boy got his education in the forest. What else? Is he really a healer? Challenging all of our stories around life, money, effort, etc. Yeah, and who's going to cut the wood now? Exactly. And what else is present? And so again, this is a point where you can orient to whatever you are perceiving, whatever your immediate perceptual insight is, plus we can add the whole of the educational system and all points of entry you went through maybe throughout your life and all of the touch points you had and still have with education. Like how do they interact and engage? Plus, if there's availability of educational system in its state of health, can we add that as well? And would that change anything in your perceptual ways? And the angry father asks, what happened to the spirit? Exactly. Exactly. So what else becomes available when you are in perceptual orientation to the story, the educational system, and educational system in its state of health? And what about letting everyone knowing how to be your own healer instead of being the healer? And also, would he be the healer without the magic cloth from the spirit? Yeah, there's many, 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 many different threads we could follow. Education as a living, breathing interaction has to transfer to how we do everything. Yes. Stagnation versus flow and service orientation. Are some trees better to be chopped down than healed? Mm. An educational system guided or oriented towards spirit is effortless and more effective. Effortless, effective, efficient. Just like nature. I agree with creative intelligence on being creative and intelligence. What else? And we have 9 minutes left. So we are entering also slowly the tapering part of this. And we have the river, the dependent son, the angry father, the tree challenging all of our stories, creative intelligence. What can I trust, believe, come to the forest? Yes. If you believe he is the healer, you will value him just as if education brings you what you want, you will defend it without questioning it. Yeah, there's always, and something I say a lot is that humans, we are very limited, like in general, as a human species, which is exactly also how the brain works, and the limitation of a certain perceptual point, right? And then we get to be in spaces like this, and we get to read stories like this, and then follow like thread by thread by thread and open up the limitations a little bit more. If something is effortless, does it lose value? Is effort a form of value?
River
Sometimes it
says
is.
no.
Ah,
I
what did you
was
say?
just saying River says no.
No, exactly. I was like, no, I don't think so. Depends on what kind of effort, also, I would say. The effort that is just for the sake of effort and to prove. I was thinking about it today in my morning walk. Like, when does it count? The value, when does it count? Does it still count if it's very effortless for me because I I put on so much in already that the skill or whatever it is becomes so effortless? But does it mean that there is no value then? I don't think so. Let's also get rid of clocks and timetables in education. Let us roam and linger like in the forest, spending as much time needed following our curiosity and calling. He was able to create a new path for himself because the education stories from his dad and the education from higher education. What else? And as we are in the tapering phase, 6 minutes left. And this was for me like a whole other like layer of doing the session and preparing for the session with the big question of can we cosmos the educational system? And oh, by the way, you only have 1 hour. And like, how do we flow with that? What about a girl instead of a boy in the story? Exactly. What about it? Isn't the point of the story to combine intellectual learning with our inner callings and body wisdom, a combination of all the knowledge and intelligence we carry? Hmm? Yeah. But who knows if he wouldn't go to the proper professional university, if he would be able to think in a like challenging way about the how to trick the spirit. Maybe yes, maybe no. We don't know. And so as we are tapering, you can also begin to reorient to your personal name, personal coordinates of self. So you can rename yourself back when you feel the wave kind of moved at any point. Or you can also choose to stay and linger in the tree, in the creative intelligence, in the river, in the question that came. The dependent senses trust of and the reproduction of a social hierarchy based on a traditional set of valuations of occupations, etc. Will I, as a healer with my forest adventure, ever be valued as a PhD holder? and the question of what is value as well. I keep noticing how he'll always have a huge choice point to go more toward the forest or to go more toward normal. The choice never ends, and really it's the point where we stand and orient from. Yeah, every moment is a choice moment, is a co-creation moment by moment, and every moment is a choice moment. Learning through relationality. Yes. Anything else before we taper and close? Only when the boy got distracted and sidetracked and followed his intuition and listened to his heart was he able to access a different source of knowledge. Yes. Thank you for the story, Katja. My question, what would you like for us to get away from this story? What was your intention today? What was important for you today? Feel free to react and also feel free to let this be figured out by ourselves. Yeah, my intention with this type experience is always to open up a little bit our perceptual place, right? To add a little bit more threads to our own threads of things and an experience of a larger move, energetical move, something that moves into coherence as we name and include many, many different things and threads into the story, right? And as I said in the beginning, usually it takes a much longer time, and usually we also move in at a slower pace of this because it requires nuance and it requires like weaving and co-weaving. So it was like a speed dating with a mythic movement of some kind. And again, so my intention is to open up a little bit and create a little bit more pathways for everybody to be able to navigate and mapping out your personal map of the forest. Plus, there's always exactly what you said, there's another layer always. It will be figured out on itself. So it will figure itself out through you as you move on and you go through your life and do your normal human things. So it's both. This exercise reminds me of a word I learned this week. Transcontextual. I like that. Thank you. Transcontextual. It's hard for me to pronounce. Um, yeah, so here we are. Rename yourself back if you haven't already. When you feel the wave is moved on and you are reorienting back to your own presence,